All right, everybody. So welcome to the very first episode of Tap 3 to Counter. We are your hosts. I'm Chris.
My name's Hector.
Josh.
And without further ado, let's just jump on in. What do you got, Hector?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about mono green ramp. So we're going to be trying to help get the mana base going as quickly as possible in a commander game, specifically for EDH or commander. And the first three cards that I would like to discuss would be the first three that you would always put into a green deck would be Wild Growth, Utopia Sprawl, and Soul Ring. As much as I hate Soul Ring because of the amount of advantage that it gives you, it should be in your mono green deck anyways, just because it gets you from turn 1 to turn 4 on turn 2. It is too good. So yeah, you still want to be putting your Soul Rings even if you're a mono green deck. But Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth are both cards that they come out turn 1 because they only cost 1 mana. They enchant your land, and you're just ahead of everybody by turn 2. So it really speeds up your game in comparison to 2 mana ramps or 3 mana ramps. Just like you want to see that Soul Ring, you also want to see these cards in your opening hand most likely.
I mean, I 100% agree. I learned from the greatest about that, Hector.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Well, I have it in every green deck, at least one of them, if not both. So, like right now, the Muldrotha we're working on, it has Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth both in the deck. So I definitely net use out of it every single time. I think then, unless you want to keep going on the.
No, it's just like there's very little commander decks that would not want to put in those cards. Maybe one that hates enchantments or something like that, but most green decks will want it, and you'll be seeing them in mainly all of your green decks. But that's it for me. Anyone who else got some good green ramp cards to put in decks?
I think it's Josh's turn. If you want to go ahead and jump it.
Yeah, sure. I will jump in. I am going to jump to, I guess, 2 drops. And we'll go for Nature's Lore. 3 visits. And Sakura Tribuilder. Nature's Lore and 3 visits, definitely, because you get an extra land for that turn. And it doesn't come in taps. So it hits the field. You get to use it immediately. Tie it in with another, the Soul Ring you already played. You're ramping so fast. You're looking at your turn, turn 4, turn 5, and even possibly, turn 6 coming in turn 3 and turn 2 and turn 3. Soccer Tribuilder is really nice. It's cheap. And you get to get a little blocker. Declare your blocker, sacrifice it, get a land. Don't take any damage for that turn. It's super, super nice early game.
Absolutely. Nature's Lure and 3 visits, just like you said, they come in on tap, which means in the late game, for 1 mana, you're practically ramping. So you're never losing momentum, or at least you're losing very little momentum playing those cards later on. So you don't feel bad when you do that. Same, right? Soccer Tribuilder is reusable, and that's why we like Soccer Tribuilder, right? So a lot of decks like creatures, and they can synergize with being able to get creatures out of the graveyard. That's another good thing about Sakura Tribuilder is that you could always recur Sakura Tribuilder and keep using its ability to continue ramping you throughout the game, like in a Muldrotha deck or something like that. But Eternal Witness can grab it, and things like that.
Right. It's been a very, very, very useful card, and once again, another one we picked up from Hector. I actually didn't realize at first that I could designate blockers and then sack it in response to not only block the attack, but also to receive the extra mana, which is super useful, especially in games where you're really, really close. So when you're playing with somebody who's like on par with you and, the decks are even and every little calculation, every little extra bit you can get forward is the difference between winning and losing. So
absolutely, like a Tovolar deck, right? If you're facing off against a Tovolar deck, you're able to chunk with that Sakura Tribuilder so that they don't get that extra draw.
Right. And we know somebody who likes to draw a lot.
Josh.
Okay, we know two. We know two
Hey,
people.
wait,
We know
whoa.
two people who like to draw a lot.
I think everybody likes to draw cards. You
That's
can't just you can't just put me there.
you lost 26 health from Underworld Dreams, sir.
Happily, happily.
He also beat my ass, so.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he turned that
Yeah,
game around and
he
still
won.
won.
Yeah.
I hope so. If I'm losing 26 life to an Underworld, if I can't end the game with 26 cards in hands, I'm doing something wrong.
Oh my god, it was painful too. I basically just sat there and took the rest of it.
Yeah, that's
um,
because you kept that one card in your hand just to let that happen.
I had
Watch
to.
Underworld Deep Dream do its work.
Well, it was a meme hand. I was like, I'm playing this, and I told him at the beginning, I was like, I have to do it.
Yeah, I saw that thing go down. I had to restrict using any of my draw spells until I knew I could win.
Ugh.
Oh, it's gross.
But I guess
What
that
do you got?
Fun stuff.
I guess that moves on to me for a card. So I'm not really gonna stick in. Before we had talked about the 2-drops. So I'm gonna go into a 3-drop and then a special creature that I like for mana. In mono green, it's not as useful. So Bloom Tender is a favorite of mine for putting in decks, although I play a lot of colors. So it's honestly way more beneficial for a lot of colors. So in this particular case, although you would still tap for 1 mana because you have green in your deck, it's better in decks with 3, 4, 5 colors because it taps for the number of permanents you control's colors. So if you have 5, you tap for 5 as opposed to tapping for 1, which is not that great.
Is that different colors?
Yeah.
Only taps for the permanents of different colors?
Yeah. So if I have green, white, black, red, and blue, Bloom Tender will tap for not mana. I'm saying I have to have permanents of those colors. It will tap for 5, as opposed to in a mono green deck, it will never tap for more than 1. So
Correct.
It's fine, but it's not efficient. There are better wastes of your mana, better uses of your mana in a one color deck. I like to bring it up because it's a good card for people to know about. And then also the much more expensive version of 3 Visits and Nature's Lore, which brings 2 forests into the field, would be Skyshroud Claim. So it does the exact same thing. It costs 1 more mana, except instead of bringing 1 untapped forest to the field, it brings 2 untapped forests to the field. You don't want to have a deck full of those 3 cost ramps, as we've been explained to before. But a couple of them are definitely good to have around. Skyshroud is a really good one for those mid to low cost decks. There are obviously specific cases where you can get other things that would fit better. But a good general card would be Skyshroud. It gives you those 2 mana, which you can then immediately use for something else. So let's say you have you play Skyshroud, you bring those 2 mana on the field, and you tap 1 for Wild Growth. So you brought those 2 plus a Wild Growth onto the field. And I don't know why you'd be holding on to 1 that long, but say you drew it. So then you brought those 2 forests on top of the Wild Growth that you also played, bringing you 3 forward, which is awesome. So that's for me.
And yeah, you're right. And I agree with everything you've been saying, including that. I mean, they come in untapped. It's like you just paid 2 for a 4 mana spell, right? So you really don't lose much momentum when you play that card. Same thing like Harrow in a way. That you pop one of your lands, but you get 2 more that come in untapped. Harrow's just risky, so I wouldn't play Harrow because if it gets countered, right, then you just lost. You went -2, lost 2 cards for someone playing just 1. But Skyshroud Claims is very good. I like Bloom Tender. Again, like you said, it has to be 3 colors or higher because you want to be able to tap for its full amount. You don't really want to you don't want to tap it for 1 or 2. There's better cards that do that, especially on a creature, right? If it's on a creature, there's many other cards that will tap for 2 and do a better job than Bloom Tender if you just need 2 mana. Bloom Tender, really, you want to be able to cast it for all those colors.
Right.
So like a 2 tap for like a mana rock, something like that.
Right, or there's other creatures that do it, like Elysium Grove, I believe that's what it's called. I'd have to check on that. Or like there's Circle of Dreams Druid, which taps. It's like a Gaia's Cradle, right? Gaia Cradle is like it's a overly priced card, but it's also very good. It taps for mana for each creature you control, and Circle of the Dream Druid is 3 mana in mono green, and you can tap it for each creature that you control, including itself. So it already traps for 1, but it can tap for all the other creatures. If you're in mono green, what kind of deck are you building? You're most likely building a creature deck. So Circle of the Moon Druid's probably going to be tapping for 4 or 5 mana a turn, and then you still didn't use your lands when you use your spells. So it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, I seem to recall. Isn't there a synergy in the Chatterfang deck where you can make all your squirrel tokens tap for mana too? I don't know why that just
Yeah,
popped into
yeah.
my head, but isn't Chatterfang mono green?
No, he is not. He's actually Golgari color, so he's green and black,
Oh, never mind.
and he uses a right. Man, it's he uses a different spell that allows all your creatures to tap for mana. But there's many ways to be able to do that. It's not really infinite. Like you could use a Song of the Freyalise. Song of
Okay.
Freyalise. It's a saga that also allows you to tap your creatures for mana. But yeah, I mean squirrels are good.
Yeah,
Squirrels do
I,
lots of things.
yeah, it's all. I agree with you. I mean, I'm the one that said that too. Like it's. I just like to make sure that people know about it because some people don't really like appreciate what it can do for them. And while you're
Mm-hmm.
building a mono deck now, you never know what you're going to be building tomorrow. You know as well as I do that I build a deck a week. So I'm
Yeah, 1 deck a week.
okay. I built 3 today, but that's besides the point. I like to put it out there, and then Sky Shroud is just it's a beautiful card. Like you just
Yeah,
it
it's good.
it almost it gets close to paying for itself, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
That spell for the squirrels Cryptolith Rites, by the way. That's the one that allows you to tap your creatures for mana. And Sky Shroud Claim is good. I would put for high CMC cards that are like 3 or higher to use in your decks. I would only put about 2 or 3 of them in a deck, depending on what kind of CMC you want. But mainly, you want to stick to 2 or 3 out of maybe 14 ramp cards that you want to put in a deck. And the reason you want 14 is because you want to be able to see it in your opening hand.
right.
Right.
I think
Yep.
it's your turn again, Hector. If you've
My turn.
got, yeah, I think it's you. With
All
your
right.
gems of wisdom.
So my next cards are going to be a little bit on the expensive side. But the thing is that they just generate so much advantage that you want them in your decks. You have Carpet of Flowers, right? The thing about Carpet of Flowers is there's probably going to be someone at your table that's going to play blue. Okay, so they're probably going to have an island or two. And if Carpet of Flowers, if you pay 1 into it and it taps for 1, it just acts like a not taps for 1. It doesn't tap. It just gives you the mana on a main phase. So Carpet of Flowers will give you mana equal to the amount of islands that someone has on their field. 1 target opponent. So if it just taps for 1 mana, if someone just has 1 island, it already paid for itself. But if someone has more than 1 island on their field, now it's overflowing with the value that it's giving you. Because as soon as it gets to 2, it's giving you much more than you paid into it for, right? Now it's acting like a soul ring. And then if they have 3 islands, right, now you can now you can do practically whatever you want. You're 3 turns ahead of everyone else. So I would put Carpet of Flowers into every mono green deck or a green deck that you can fit it in. Depending on your play group, you can also see if you should put it in or shouldn't put it in. But most play groups that you play with, they're going to have that island. Another card that I would put in is the Emerald Medallion. A lot of people stray away from it, mainly because green is so good at ramp. But the thing is that not much ramp is as good as an Emerald Medallion because it discounts all your green cards in a mono green deck. So that means every card in your hand is now 1 less to play than it was before. So if you could play your entire hand, it just reduced your hand by 7 mana. So your Nature's Lure now costs 1, right? And you're getting that mana back because you're just going into your deck and getting another mana. So you just ramp for free. Your any other green cards, your creatures, everything, they all get discounted. And Emerald Medallion is only a 2-drop, so it's another one of those cards that you can get out extremely early. Get out your commander because your commander has to be the same color identity, right? So
Right.
it just has so many uses. So Emerald Medallion, Carpet of Flowers, though they're more on the expensive side, those should most likely be in your decks if you're able to build with that kind of mana base and that kind of finance. I should say, right?
Well, we see you use it all the time. The amount of us that run blue is it shouldn't be a problem. Like
Yeah.
you're definitely gonna get use out of it every game. How many blues do you have? How many islands? How many islands you got?
Many eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
islands on board.
Oh, wait.
Yep.
Does that have to be basic? No?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No,
How many islands do you
no,
have?
doesn't have to be basic. And
Doesn't
it
that
does
one
have
over
to say
there
specific.
Yeah, doesn't that one say island on it? Oh, good. So I get to add that one too. Great.
He's like, now I get to tap for 17. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Displace your kittens. I'm just kidding.
Oh no.
No, not the flicker kitten.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are talking mono green. But would you recommend Carpet of Flowers for just any deck that's running green?
Absolutely. And the reason is because it doesn't tap for green, it taps for any color. You get to pick the one color that comes out of it. So if you have a 5-color deck, right, you can just you can just tap all that mana for whatever color that you're missing in your hand or whatever. So there's a lot of options with that card. It's very versatile. It's very powerful.
It's like the difference
thing we
between
don't have,
Utopia.
Good thing we don't have a mana burn anymore.
Yeah. Well, you just wouldn't activate it because it's a May abilities.
Nerds.
Could you imagine 17 mana just floating and you can't even use it?
Isn't there a
Yeah,
god that
I mean-
collects those and makes them colorless too?
Yep, there's a couple of those, and you also have the original Omnath. If you choose green, right, all that green mana doesn't becomes colorless and doesn't unempty throughout the any phase.
Right.
So,
See, I
a
like
lot of mhm.
I like your Utopia Sprawl better than because I play a lot of colors. I like your
Right.
Utopia Sprawl better than Wild Growth for most of my decks, just because it taps for it taps for whatever color I choose. So you pointing that out for Carpet of Flowers is awesome because that's super important.
Right.
It makes it extremely
think-
versatile.
Utopia Sprawl does need to enchant a forest, so it's kind of difficult to play.
Right.
You have to make sure that your mana base is correct to be able to play it off, but it's still a great card.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be adding quite a few of these into anything that I'm running with green.
That's everything for me.
Yeah.
I don't play
I
without
think
green.
I don't think you have a non-green deck.
I do. Rilsa.
Rilsa.
Rilsa. Okay.
I have a Rilsa deck.
Yeah, it's a pre-con that I put
Dude.
like 6 cards in.
Soon. It'll have green soon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna swap her out for something with green. She'll be a creature of the deck. It's fine. Oh god.
So, Josh, what are your next recommendations for a green deck?
For a green deck.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this would be they are green creatures. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're only green. They would belong in only green decks. Or mono green decks. But I'm a big fan of Courser of Krufix and Oracle of Moldiah. Both allow you to play land card from the top of your deck. And it just helps ramp throughout the entire game. And it gives you another blocker. I mean, it's not absolutely necessary that needs to stay on the field. But if you can chump block something with Death Touch or Infect, I would use that instead of my commander. So the extra ramp mid to late game plus the extra blocker, I'm a big fan of them. They're kind of one of my favorites for sure.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was gonna agree. Like those two cards are really good. I would still keep those on the higher end of the ramp spectrum, maybe mid. Uh,
One's
but
a
they.
one's a colorless and with 2 green. That's the Courser or
Mhm.
Crufix. And then the other Oracle of Moldia's 3 colorless with 1 green.
Right, but
So
they act
definitely
as
on the higher ramp, yeah.
yeah, but they act as draw engines, right? Because you can see the top card of your deck.
Correct.
So it's like having an extra card in hand, and if it's a land, you can play it. If it's not a
Right.
land, you can at least set up for the next turn. There's a lot of versatility in these cards. Oracle Moldiah specifically is the one that I would like leave on the high end, just because it's 4 mana and its body isn't really that big for anything, a 2/2, but
Right.
it's still good because you get to play an additional land, so you can filter through the top of your deck, and you when you have these cards out, you want to play the cards from the top of your deck, the lands from the top of your deck before the ones in your hand, right? Because you want to be able to, if Oracle Moldiah dies, you still want to have the lands in your hand to be able to play,
Right.
right?
Actually, sorry, there's a correction here. Courser of Crufix does not allow you to play an additional land, but you get a life. You gain 1 life
Right.
when a land enters the battlefield under your control. Oracle allows you to play the land from the top of your deck and an additional land from each turn. So,
Right.
uh,
Well,
yeah,
of course, Krufix still counts as draw technically because you can play the land from the top of your deck, and you're still looking at the top card of your deck.
correct.
You don't get to
Right,
play the extra land. They have very
right,
similar abilities, but
right.
you still get to play the top card of your deck. Specifically, I
Right.
was
Yeah.
talking about
I had to
Moldiah.
reread through it to catch that. And I was like, oh wait,
Yeah.
Oracle allows you to play 2 lands per turn, where
Hmm.
a Courser does not.
Yeah. Cloister's also two green pips, so the pips are the mana symbols on the top,
Right.
and so because it has 2 green mana symbols, it's very hard to cast in a 5 color deck. So or 3. So I would delegate it more to a 2 color deck unless your 3 color deck is like heavy green or something like that.
Right. Just because of
So
how hard it could possibly be to have 2 green mana on the battlefield.
correct. And then on top of those cards that you just mentioned, I would also include Cultivate and Total's Reach, right? They're also 3 mana.
Right. Yep.
And they get you two spells, one in hand, one in or two lands, one in hand and one on the battlefield. So just to throw those out there
Well, it
without it being
also
my turn, I'm sneaking them in, like a
Oh yeah, no,
ninja.
for sure. I mean, especially if you're looking to, save a little bit of money, and
Hmm.
get your deck under budget. Um, you know, for your budget leagues, if you're running, super
Saturday.
budget league, yeah, a super budget league for $50, I'd like to
Screw
see
that.
that.
Oof, oof,
Screw
that's
that.
rough.
The the
Challenge accepted.
another cool thing about Cultivate is one goes to hand. So if you whiffed for mana for turn, hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, you can still play that up.
Hmm.
So that gives you that mana to be played. God forbid you were hoping that you're not you're manaless on a turn where you're playing Cultivate, but it
Or
happens. It happens.
late game when
Yeah.
you already
Right.
played all your lands and you play Cultivate, you're just playing 2 mana.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I guess it'd be my turn for cards then. I have some
Hmm.
creatures, so I'm gonna go with Wood Elves, and I always mispronounce this. Llanowar?
Llanowar Elves.
Yes, Llanowar Elves.
Okay.
So they're cheap, they're monetarily cheap, mana cheap. One fetches a mana, or one fetches, and then the other one taps 4. So I was recently working on a Golgari. Is that what it is? Golgari? Black, white, black.
Golgari is green, black.
Yes. Working on a Golgari Elves deck. And in that deck, those tappable elf, mana dorks, awesome. As well as Wood Elves, because I can go get what I'm missing, which is good. So
Hmm.
I like them. They're cheap. They're not gonna break the bank. They're like negative 12 cents. I think I bought like 12 of them, just because, if I need a quick, little dork, and throw one in.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Fills the spot. Even if I change it later, it's fine. especially in the budget where you're doing Cultivate, Kodamas, blah, 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 blah. Those are one of those really cheap cards that can still get mana on the field for you.
Hmm.
Cool stuff.
Are you about to do your...
Interesting.
I know what you're about to say. There's a reason why I said it.
It's just like Llanowar Elves, I wouldn't even put it in most decks. Like it's not, it doesn't, you don't get that mana right away, right?
Well, no,
Like
because
Nature's
summoning
Lore, Revisit,
sickness, yeah.
Skyshroud Claims. Yes, it comes out turn 1, but it's a weak body. It does get to block, but it's not like you don't get to keep that ramp if you block with
well,
it.
once again, it's not it's a budget option. It's not.
Okay.
It's not something that I would say if I'm building something to play you, I'm going to throw in the deck. Although, in the deck that I built it in, it was thematically elves. So every elf in the graveyard gives the commander a 1/1. So actually, it does 3 things. It blocks,
it
so makes mana, different. And it, once again, it's specific to the deck. So is it good in every deck? No. It's cheap, and it can be used in certain decks, especially the ones like that, beneficially. Yeah, and it gets Forest Walk in that particular deck as well, too. So good luck blocking my little 1/1.
They don't get bigger, but again, it has to synergize with the deck.
Correct. Yeah, generally, I wouldn't be like, let me just throw Llanowar Elves in there. But it is a card worth noting in certain situations.
I would just replace it if you're putting it into a different deck that you just want just any ramp is Neverwinter Dryad. Right, it's 1 mana and it acts like a Wayfarer's Bauble. On turn 2, you can tap 2 and sacrifice it. Go grab yourself a land. It's kind of on the same plane as a Sakura Tri-Builder, except you have to play Neverwinter Dryad on turn 1 to be able to get its effect off on turn 2. But it's going to give you that permanent mana compared to Llanowar Elf. And then if you're looking for 3 mana creatures like Wood Elves, I would. I know that in your deck, in the deck that you're mentioning, it's specific to elves, but a better options would be other. You would want something that would synergize with your deck. Absolutely. So Wood Elves in an elf deck, okay, sure. But there's Fertilid, for example. It's a 3 mana, comes in with 2 counters, and any turn you can pay 2 mana, go grab yourself a land, put it onto the battlefield, right? So if you have a commander like Renata or anything that puts counters onto a creature, right, you can just keep using Fertilid's ability over and over and just keep ramping every single turn for 2 mana. Kodama of the West Tree, right, the new Kodama from the new Kamigawa set, if you attack with modified creatures, right, then you can go bring yourself a basic land, put it onto the battlefield. I think it's a forest. Nope, basic land. No, it's a basic land.
Oh, I thought you meant the creature was a forest. I'm like, yeah, he's green.
Oh, yeah, he's green. He's green. But Kodama, he modified creatures, they attack and you ramp from that creature attacking. So now you have Kodama and Fertilid who could easily go in the same deck, right? Because Fertilid comes in modified. It comes in with 2+1/+1 counters. So if it attacks, right, if you play Kodama the next turn and attack with Fertilid, you're ramping from the Kodama. Then you pay 2 mana, ramping from the Fertilid. Like you want to be able to synergize with the deck to be able to put those cards in. You don't want to just put them in just because they can, like a Wood Elf. Like I said, Neverwinter Dryad does the same thing as Wood Elf, but cheaper, faster. Lotus Cobra is a landfall trigger. Whenever you play a land, you get 1 extra mana into your mana pool. You want something like that where like Lotus Cobra will give you that mana as long as you have lands to be able to put down onto the field.
It's almost like I knew you would present these cards.
It's
almost like I baited you. It's almost like I baited you with the really bad card. No, it's not really bad. In those, once again, in those decks, in that one deck, it makes sense. Just because of the synergies of the elves, I have to. There's only a finite amount of elves that do what I want them to do, so I needed it. But you're 100% correct. I wouldn't put it in like my Karametra deck. It's not going in Landfall. It's not going in. What was your Renata?
The +1 just adds +1/+1 counters.
Right. That's where Fertilid comes in clutch for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, that was fun. That was perfect. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
I was blowing steam out of my ears
I
for a
know.
bit there.
I know. I knew as soon as I said it, I was like, and it's on.
Sure.
It's like,
Rawr.
Alright. I don't think I have any
I think-
more cards, unless anybody
No,
else wants to toss another one out there.
I was thinking we'd each go over our favorite. What are you taking away from our discussion here? What would be your number one pick?
Elves suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Elves. Don't pick elves.
do I get the card for free? Because I would just pick Carpet of Flowers like 10 times.
Oh yeah, that was gonna be my pick.
Am I the only
It's
one
just
who
so
likes good
good.
old reliable 3 visits?
3 visits is good. I
It was
like
it was the
too.
first card you
Visits.
showed me when we met, so I was just like, 3
Yeah.
visits. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, it gets you your dual
Right.
lands, right? So
Yeah.
it's a land that is a forest and another
Right.
land
Right.
type. Like
Well,
it goes and gets you. That's so good.
Dude, the new Dominaria stuff that came out with the fetchables, they come in taps, so that
Yeah,
sucks. But
they come in
they're
taps,
they're
but-
cheap for a budget rainbow mana base. I got it pretty dialed in now, and it's those 3. So Sky Shroud, 3 visits, and Nature's Lure, and then you put a fetchable of all the color types attached to a forest. You're never stuck. It's beautiful.
I feel it.
It's
feel it.
beautiful.
I
Throw
would
a
just-
Timeless Lotus for $20 more, and you're fucking good.
Oof. Oof. Where did that come from? Yeah, but Fertile
Rainbow.
Grounds would work with your deck too, though.
I-
Fertile Grounds,
I-
2 mana, any color.
I actually have one in Karametra. I just haven't migrated it yet. So I'm trying to focus on our budget league stuff, and then I'm going to go into the definitely on the list to go suck all the green ramp out of Karametra to put it
Yeah.
spread loaded across all the decks, just because it's so good. But
So, what was yours is 3 visits. You said, what did you say, Josh? You wanted Carpet of Flowers?
Carpet of Flowers.
he says
Yeah,
Sakura
That's
Tribal.
that is my takeaway. I'm gonna go get me a carpet of flowers.
He's like, I'm gonna go
In
spend
mono
$20.
green, in mono green, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Great Henge. I know we didn't talk about it, but I just absolutely
such a
go
shit.
Great Henge.
He's like, out of the air, he just goes, great henge.
I'm gonna.
I
This-
found it right here.
Yeah, now we
I
end the
found this-
conversation here, so nobody knows what you're talking about.
No, no, it's just Great Henge is I mean, it's a late game ramp, but I mean, so it not only gives you 2 mana for the most likely 2 mana that you're gonna spend, right? Because it's 7 mana and then 2 green pips, so it's total of 9 mana.
Oof.
But if you have a creature with high power, it reduces the cost of the colorless mana. So you could send it out for like 2 mana easily. But most of the time, I see myself playing it at 4, which is fine. It's fine because it gives you 2 mana back as soon as it comes in. Anytime you tap it, it gains you life. If you play a creature card, you draw a card, and then that creature comes in with a +1/+1 counter. Like, what does it not do?
It's also
Like, it's such a-
$70.
And you get the draw card. And you get the draw
Yeah.
card on top
Yeah,
of that.
it's
Is
a
anyone-
draw engine. It's ramp. It's life gain.
70. It's not
I wonder-
budget
Makes
league.
I wonder
expensive
why it's so
card.
expensive.
Yeah, no shit. It's not budget league.
Right, right.
It's 70.
It really does depend. It really does.
No,
depend on
it's a
the
good
type
card.
of
I'm just
deck
talking.
you're in.
I'm just talking smack.
That's a
Yeah.
sixth of your deck if you're in budget.
Well, in our budget league, that's you got $30 left. Good luck.
Good luck.
You could play a card.
Hector's like, challenge accepted.
Damn
Yeah.
it. All right, now
I'll
we
do
have
it.
now we have to play a $50 budget league. It's gonna essentially be Pauper.
Practically right. Yeah, it's gonna be so weird.
But I guess
No
we
3
can.
visits.
No,
Yeah, sad day for you.
that's my
Yeah,
favorite
but I
card.
think I think that's it for today. I think
Yeah.
we went over quite a lot of regular green ramp cards. Nothing too crazy, right? Nothing that synergizes with things like artifacts or anything like that. Because there's a lot. We can get into a whole nother video for that.
I mean,
But we
it's
did
all
go over a lot of really good staples.
it's all affordable, and I'll definitely make sure that below we put the card list, and that way anybody who has any questions will, you can refer to the list at the bottom, and with maybe we'll go through a little synopsis, but they can honestly just Google it, and then that way the list is available. So should somebody want to get the whole list in its entirety, if they're building mono green and they want to get a great henge for $70.
Worth it. It's worth it. I promise.
It is worth it. If I had $70 to just go drop on a great henge, I would. But all All right, guys. Well, then I guess I'll see you in episode 2, which we have not decided what it will be yet.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be counter spells. Watch.
Bro, I'm in control. All right, guys. Till next time.
Tap 3.
Counter spells in green. I'm just kidding. All right.
Tap 3 to counter.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. It was nice seeing you.